to me, that's an acceptable level of simping.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/thehorrorofbabylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
If you're having deja vu, then good for you. Because
you stole my joke.
Because this is another very special bonus episode sponsored by Horsemen Comics and Gaming. Welcome to the Horror of Babylon, where we discuss Happy Death Day to You. And it's going to start, just like the movie, it's going to start with Ryan being very confused.
Yeah.
I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
I'm actually other Daniel. You fell through a dimensional loop.
That's fine. Thank you to our patrons, including Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the Fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yeah.
Oh, she makes it rain, and Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron. Goofy, defend! And thank you to Horsemen Comics and Gaming, who sponsored this episode. You can visit them at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at forestman.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you make it in the store, say hello to Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas. He's the weirdo running around in the baby mask. With
That's a mask?
Yeah, with a Nerf gun, just shooting people and saying, haha, now you're Bill Murray. Trigger warning, over-explaining things that we never questioned in the first place.
Yeah.
Our history with Happy Death Day to You. I'm not even sure I was aware of this movie when it released. At some point, I saw something for it and went, oh, they made another one of those. And that
was basically mine. I saw it. I saw like a commercial and I went, man, I still haven't watched the first one. Moved on with my life.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Background, this movie released February 13th, 2019. This one was written and directed by Christopher Landon, who directed but did not write the original. Ahead of the first film's release, Landon had talked about the possibility of a sequel focusing on why Tree went into the time loop. And, you know, that was kind of his whole idea for a sequel. For monies, this had a higher budget of $9 million. And still a very successful movie, but not to the same degree of the first one. Took in $64.6 million. So still, that's pretty good profit.
Yeah, it's a pretty good profit, but I'm sure they weren't happy with the diminished returns.
Yeah, but it's still a lot of money. And like, I don't know. People always just want more and more and more. But
yeah,
you should be happy when your $9 million movie makes almost $65 million.
Well, I mean, if I was in charge of a studio, I'd be pretty ecstatic.
Yeah.
But I am not one of these corporate execs who are always looking at the budgets.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible three-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Structure and themes, premise, the plot. Is it derivative? Is it creative? Or is it both?
I have a love-hate relationship with multiverse stories. Just mostly because there's so many of them right now. Because, Marvel did it, and now everybody's trying to get in on it.
Yeah.
And I've always been used to the multiverse because I read comic books.
Yeah.
But, seeing it everywhere can get a little tiresome. But it's kind of it was interesting to see in this sort of movie, I guess. Mm-hmm. I never would have thought, multiverse slasher.
Yeah.
That still does the Groundhog Day thing. I was expecting them to do more with the multiverse, honestly, after I realized what was going on.
Yeah, she doesn't, jump between them. There's only the original world and then the new one. It's not most multiverse things that jump between a lot of different worlds.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah. I guess if I was writing it, I would have had her wake up in a different multiverse each time, but then how do you figure anything out?
The other big thing about this one is kind of a genre shift. This one, there's a sci-fi aspect to the original, just because of what it is. The original has a little bit of a sci-fi-ness to it, but this one is more sci-fi because it focuses on the why, the how and the why.
We get stuff on string theory and quantum physics.
So much so that I think, it's almost hard to call this a horror movie. What do you think of, the genre change?
I would have preferred it to be not this, but then what would it be, I guess. I prefer the first one by a pretty wide margin, mostly because I got slasher elements that I like. And in this one, the slasher elements were almost distracting. Mm-hmm.
Well, they kind of just forget about the babyface killer halfway through.
Yeah.
Where she decides I'm just going to kill myself at the end of each day.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. And then the killer doesn't show up again until the end of the movie. I think it's hard to call it I guess it is a slasher because it is, but I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't be so concerned on throwing labels on movies and just appreciate them for what they are, but it's a very big shift from the original.
I'm okay with labels because that ties into marketing, and if you're marketing to a slasher audience and then you don't give them a slasher movie, then you should expect diminished returns.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Characters: Jessica Roth returns as Tree Gelbman. I think she's also just good in this one. I think she gets to flex a lot more of her comedy muscle in this one, because this one I feel is even more of a comedy than the first one. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's because the first one you're not really supposed to take seriously, but this one gets so ridiculous that there's no way you can take it seriously.
It's the jump the shark moment for the franchise.
Yeah.
2 movies in.
Mm-hmm. The funniest... Wow, there's so many funny parts in this, but her funniest moment, I feel is when Ryan kicks her back into her loop, and she wakes up screaming. She's so pissed.
Yeah.
And she goes out the door. Ryan, get in here! It's do I know this crazy white girl?
I'll get to Ryan in a minute.
Okay, so what do you think of Tree?
She does a great job. I didn't know that somebody could make that many suicide scenes look fun and charming.
Do we want to talk about that now or in scary shit?
We can talk about it in scary shit.
Okay, all right. All right, and then Israel Brozard returns as Carter Davis. I guess I still want to have his babies, but he was kind of, aside from him being a motivation for Tree, he was kind of just there for a lot of this movie.
He wasn't as involved. Mm-hmm. I like that no matter what universe he's in, he's a little bit of a simp.
Yeah.
But he's believably a simp. Mm-hmm. It's I'm not just going to do your homework for nothing. You have to at least pretend to be my girlfriend.
Yeah, was that an arranged thing? Did he know? Was she cheating on him, or was that you can do what you want behind closed doors, just be my girlfriend in public?
I think she was cheating on him.
Okay.
But I think that, he's willing to help a girl with something, mm-hmm. but he wants to feel that it's at least in his head, there's an equal return on it.
Okay.
So to me, that's an acceptable level of simping.
Okay. Okay, so the star of the show, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try his name. Fivu as Ryan Fan. Are you a fan of this guy?
One of my favorite parts in the movie is when he's walking along the college campus and then she tries to give him flyers for global warming. He goes, "I'm so sorry, you don't speak English." And I was like, I'm not going to be able to do this on the podcast, but that's just funny because if I was Asian and I wanted to get out of talking to somebody, I would do that every time. Even if I didn't speak Chinese or Mandarin or like whatever his...
You know, she would just like... Maybe she like had a class with him and knew who he was, and she knew that he was Korean or whatever. So she just like fires back at him in Korean. Would you sign my petition in Korean? And he's like,
That would be a good joke too.
I don't know.
But that's what I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, my niece is Korean, except she'll actually be able to speak Korean. She already can speak both languages. But I'm going to tell her, I'm like, listen, if you ever want to get out of talking to somebody, just go, "I speak no English," and then just start rambling in Korean. Mm-hmm. They'll leave you alone.
Yeah. That is an introvert's dream. The movie fakes you out a little bit. Like the first 15, 20 minutes or so, it makes you think that Ryan's going to be the protagonist.
And that's, I thought, I was like, okay, well, that's going to be a little bit like it's the same movie. Mm-hmm. But that's fine, because what else are you going to... And then they change it, and I go, oh, that's interesting. But then it's not changed enough, I guess, is my major criticism.
Yeah. I think overall, I liked this movie, and I had fun watching it, but it has a lot more blemishes than the first one does.
I would more happily put on the first one. I don't know if I just throw this one on again, unless I'm watching it, back to back.
Yeah. I did enjoy his, little crew of nerds. The Dean was a little over the top, but I guess he kind of fit the movie.
I feel like he was over the top on purpose, like they watched Animal House, and they're like, "We want you to be this guy.
Robot House!
You get that machine out of here!"
The portrait that he has of him and his cat in his office.
I wish that I had a job to where I could just have a portrait of myself in there and people couldn't question it because I could get them expelled. I'm going to go back to school just to become a professor.
You gotta be a professor before you work your way up to being a dean.
Yeah, so it'll be a minute, but
yeah.
But then I'll get a painting of myself with my cat, and it'll just be you in a cat costume, and we'll link people to the "Are We Gay" quiz.
That's funny.
Yeah,
you could put a QR code to the quiz.
Yeah,
on the
just
portrait.
on the portrait.
Yeah,
but no, I liked him. I thought he was over the top on purpose.
Mm-hmm. That was good.
I liked the really big security guards that were with them.
You guys got to get back in the gym. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
I don't know what to tell them. Those two dudes probably are in the gym all the time. They probably just mostly do muscle shit and then still eat what they want.
They're those guys who have the big beer bellies but have giant arms and shoulders because they lift
and can bench 300 pounds because those are the dudes who work security jobs.
Yeah. Okay, and then Rachel Matthews returns as Danielle Boseman.
So much more of her.
but kind of the nice Danielle, but she's not really that nice, but she is kind of nice.
Yeah, she just cheats on her boyfriend.
Yeah, which isn't nice.
But she's nicer.
She doesn't chew out people for missing meetings and probably doesn't carb shame people.
She strikes me more as a person who believes they're nice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You have this type who,
Hiya! Happy Easter!
Oh god, I'm gonna sound like such a fucking old man. She strikes me as a, one of those college liberals that's always like, well, here's what I did for the environment. Where it's a bunch of humble bragging nice. Where they're nice so they can talk about themselves being nice.
Conservatives humble brag too.
Yeah, but I don't run into those.
Or maybe you do, but you don't register it in your brain because perspective.
Maybe.
Thought she was really funny. I had to pause the movie. I was laughing so hard when she said, "Did you know that Anne Frank was deaf and blind?"
She's the one in the ad.
Oh, whatever. And then when she was supposed to be a French blind girl, and he helps her up, and she says gracias. I about died. And then she sits down next to a chessboard where every piece is in the starting position. She picks up a bishop, illegally jumps it over a pawn, and says checkmate.
You're not allowed to do that in chess?
No.
Oh.
Only knights can jump.
Oh.
And even if it was a knight, you don't win from moving one knight.
Not unless you put them in checkmate.
And how would you do that from moving a knight once from the starting position?
I don't know. I don't play chess.
Okay, and then our killers end up being the doctor and his wife, kind of how they intended in the original ending, which, I don't know.
As soon as I realized that Lori wasn't the killer, I'm like, okay, it's the doctor. It's going to be the doctor now. So
I was hoping it was going to be Carter, because that would have been surprising.
That would have at least been surprising.
It's not that kind of movie. It's trying to entertain you. It's not trying to shock you. So,
what did you think of Danielle getting put in the loop at the end of the movie?
I think that's our premise for the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's our homework, is you need to pitch that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Okay, so moving on to scary shit. Is it scary?
No.
No. I was horrified a little bit by why Tree would decide to kill herself in so many gruesome ways rather than just, like, take too much Tylenol. Like, drinking, like, the drain pipe cleaner.
That one was pretty bad.
Throwing yourself in a wood chipper. Like, you know that every time you die, your body retains some of that damage and it makes it worse for you. Why would you put yourself in a wood chipper?
The only ones that I could justify is, like, the falling off the roof ones. Because she had died that way before, so she at least would know the pain scale in comparison. Like, how much of that do I feel in the moment? But, like, I've never drank in drain pipe cleaner. That sounds like a painful way to go.
It sounds awful.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the montage was funny. I mean,
yeah. I liked the music.
Yeah.
The music choices in both of these movies were really good.
Mm-hmm. And jumping out of a plane in your underwear and then flipping off the camera right before you hit the ground. And I won't even, like, complain about how did she know the exact right spot that she was when she jumped out.
I pretended that she'd just done it so many times.
She's done it like 100 times, and so she knows.
Because part of the premise is she has to stay in the loop long enough to learn these equations. And I was like, how long would it take me to learn theoretical physics?
I mean, you don't even have to know, you just have to memorize the pictures.
Yeah.
So you don't have to understand them.
Okay, but how long would it take you to memorize the board that they showed?
A while.
Yeah, I'm going, that would take me so long.
But you have to do it in a day.
Yeah, and there's a squiggly line at this point. Do you mean a divide symbol? Yes.
Divide symbol's a straight diagonal line. It's not squiggly.
I don't know what a squiggly line does then. I failed math.
Kiss me, fat boy!
For Kiss Me Fat Boy this week, we're playing Fuck, Marry, Kill Nerd Edition with Ryan, Samar, which is the other dude, and Dre, who's the Jufro girl.
I'd fuck Dre, I'd marry Samar, and I'd kill Ryan.
I would kill Samar, marry Ryan, and fuck Dre.
Yeah.
Why would I kill Samar? Because I don't want to kill Ryan.
Yeah.
I guess that's why.
Oh my god, are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Alright, King and Koontz, what is your king for Happy Death Day to you?
I liked their attempt to do something different in the franchise. It had sort of middling success, in my opinion. But I like that they went with, hey, here's a premise of how we can expand the original idea. And I appreciate that.
I don't fault them for trying.
I think it just led to mixed success. Some of it worked, some of it I don't think worked.
There have been talks of a third one, but I don't think there's ever been like a concrete, like, green light for it. I think it'd probably be profitable enough that it'd be worth it. I think the biggest issue with the third one is they did this one so soon after the first one, it was easy enough to get the same cast, and none of them really looked that different.
Yeah, it looked like a day had just gone by.
But it's been 5 years now, so it would be harder to do that. But maybe you shouldn't do, like, you know, Wednesday the 20th. Maybe you should do something different.
Yeah, just evolve it a little bit.
But yeah, I would watch a third one. My king is the same as yours. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. And your Koontz?
I just feel that the movie felt flat in a few places, mostly due to the change in like premise and genre type, dropping the killer halfway through the movie, which is an interesting concept for in like exchange for suicide montages. But I'm like, I feel like I was sold a sequel to a slasher film, even if it was like a very intro level slasher film, and I got something very different.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm okay with it because I'm not big on slashers. I'm not in love with the genre shift, but it's not because I wanted a slasher, it's because I think it just felt awkward.
Yeah.
Like, they were like shoes that didn't fit quite right. Like,
something about it just felt a little off, and it kind of just felt like that throughout the whole movie for me.
Yeah, same.
There's just like this little off feeling, and a lot of it I just couldn't even really put my finger on. Rankings.
My Koontz is that Danielle still did not get stabbed. We forgot to rank the first one last week, so we'll just do both in this episode. I have Happy Death Day at my number 35, below the Disney Sleepy Hollow and above Beast. And I have Happy Death Day a couple spots below that at number 38, below Ring Kazenban and above Army of Darkness.
Okay, so am I ranking the first one first?
Yeah.
Okay. Put it above Dracula 1931.
High praise. Actually, that movie has just like slowly crept down and down both of our lists.
I think it's a good movie. I just think that if I'm going to just sit and watch a movie again, I'm way more likely to sit and watch Happy Death Day. Number 2 here. Let's see here. I liked it more than Victor Frankenstein. I liked it more than Cherry Falls. I liked it more than Exorcist: The Beginning. Put it below Blade 2.
And your number 56, below Blade 2 and above Exorcist: The Beginning. So homework, pitch the third one, but you have to use the teaser at the end of the second movie as a basis.
Okay, so Danielle's caught in a time loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this slowly drives her insane because she's not nearly as intelligent as Tree. But she slowly starts to piece certain things together, and over time she becomes the ultimate babyface killer. And it's going to open with everybody being killed in that government facility because someone's being all Terminator, going through in a babyface mask, just slaughtering and it turns out it's Danielle, who's just been in the loop so long that she's gotten super good at killing everybody.
I mean, if you think about it, like, you can just, like, okay, day one, I go in the door, and the security guard's here, I shoot him. Then I go down this hallway, and this guy came out of this door and popped me out. And then the next day, you like, okay, I'm ready for the second guy. But then a third guy gets me. The next day, I know where the first 3 guys are.
And that's how it'll open, is like Terminator baby killer going to get the machine to get out of the loop.
Yeah.
And then everybody ends up in a loop as a result. So that is them trying to figure out who's this Terminator baby killer and how do we stop them. And it's Danielle.
So mine, she figures out that she's retaining damage every time she dies.
Mm-hmm.
So what she ends up doing is just smothering herself with a at the end of every night. And she's too afraid to go out of her room and risk her looks, so she just stays in the loop forever smothering herself with a every night.
It's 2 hours of a girl herself to death.
Yeah.
You just described like 6 of my ex-girlfriends.
Yeah. All right, so, and then for further reading, same recommendations as last time, Scream.
I don't know, I feel like this one leans more into sci-fi, so if it depends on what you're attracted to about this movie. If you still like the slasher elements, then I'd say yeah. But if you like sort of the sci-fi-esque elements, I'd be like Cronenberg's The Fly, because it has like some goofy jokes in it. It has a lot more like body horror nonsense, but it still has some jokes. It has some sci-fi stuff. I'd recommend movies like that.
Okay.
Depending on like what about the movie is appealing to you.
Upcoming on the Horror of Babylon, this Sunday we are reading the Dark Tower short story, The Little Sisters of Valyria. And then the following Sunday we are reading the Arthur Machen novella, The Great God Pan. And then our next two bonus episodes on April 18th, we are returning the Treehouse of Horror Babylon with Hex in the City. And then the next week, April 25th, we are doing our third and final host interview episodes where Daniel and I will interview Hef. And we are just going to get rid of all the horror questions and just make it all about sex and just ask him 100 sex questions. Have you done this? Will you do this? All that stuff.
I don't know. Did I even ask you any sex questions?
No, but I probably wouldn't have answered them anyway. So.
Yeah. I think I was actually pretty good with the ones I came up with.
Yeah, you were good. Speaking of people who are good, thank you to our patrons, Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the Fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
Oh, she makes it rain and spells it Rayne. And thank you to our newest patron, Sierra the Sixth, the Keyblade Patron.
Donald, heal me.
Heal me, Donald. Donald Duck. And thank you to the sponsor of this week's episode of For Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at forhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com, and if you make it in the store, say hello to Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas, who, if the dean came in and yelled at him to get rid of his project, he would probably just roll up in a ball and cry. That's not true. Ron is actually pretty good at telling deans where to shove it. I've seen it. Thank you for watching Happy Death Day to you and recording with me tonight.
I had a pretty good time.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that the Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.